just yet.
Woohoo! USA! USA!
We have an action-packed hour for you 6 p.m. drivers.
Would I rather be feared or loved? Easy, both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me.
Matt Skraby wraps up a full day of live and local sports talk.
And that is the whole problem with aliens. You just can't trust them. Occasionally you meet a nice one, but usually they turn out to be some kind of big lizard.
The Skraby Show starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
Hello and welcome into the first Skraby Show of the Padres offseason 2025. I am Matt Skraby. Thank you for joining me. If you would like to watch, you can on YouTube. Just go to YouTube, search 97.3 The Fan. Or if you're a Skrabinator, you can go to the chat that has other Skrabinators in it. If you go to youtube.com/@theskraby show, you can get in there. Make sure you subscribe to the page as well. I always see people saying that you need to subscribe to the page, and I never do, so I should probably say that. But here we are. We are in the off season, and I definitely did not expect for the off season to come so quick. I truly thought that they were going to, the Padres, I truly thought that they were going to figure it out in game 3. I truly thought at some point they were going to come back. And everybody knows I'm a pretty positive person when it comes to sports. Maybe not so much positive about other things in my life, but I'm definitely positive when it comes to sports. And yesterday was a slow burn because some of those at bats just didn't look great. It just the whole thing didn't look great. And the series just felt weird. Game 1 was just not something that the Padres, they just weren't able to get back into it. Hitting with runners in scoring position is what will haunt this team because they didn't do it. And if you're going to, as the guy said earlier, Tony and Chris, if the team isn't hitting, it isn't hitting with runners in scoring position, which is what they're kind of designed for, and they're not hitting for power, where are those runs going to come from? And we found out yesterday they're going to come from yesterday's run came from a 9th inning home run from Jackson Merrill. So I can't look at this any other way than this season ends up becoming a disappointment. And I am not one to say that word lightly, but the reason to me it is a disappointment, not because they didn't win the World Series. I can't go into a season every single year thinking it's a disappointment if they don't win a championship, because 29 other teams all the time have that disappointment. But to know that they didn't get out of the first round and they had so many opportunities to get out of the first round, that is where I think the disappointment comes in, because this team was better than what this team was so much better than what they performed, the level they performed in the playoffs against the Cubs. And I know that a lot of people are upset that the wild card series was in Chicago. There was no home playoff games for the Padres. And my answer to that is why you can't be upset at anything or anyone other than the Padres team themselves, because they had plenty of opportunities in the regular season to get a lead in the division or even just stay there with the Dodgers. And we talked about it so many times. We didn't want the reasoning behind them not winning or their season ending early because they weren't able to track down the Dodgers, even though the Dodgers were the entire season, or not the entire season. Let me roll that back a second. In the second half, they were gift wrapping the division for the Padres, and the Padres were like, nah. Or they said no. If you don't like nah. They said, nope, we're good. We don't need your gift. We will be just fine without your gift. And that is not what happened. They were not just fine without their gift. So I have to come in here and just be real with everyone that this was a season that ended in failure to me. And I'm ready, I guess I'm not ready to move on to next season. I'm excited already about next season, but I understand why people can't go there just yet. Because this team, even though throughout the year it was kind of strange to watch, there were points where they were really good. There were points where they just could not beat the teams that they were supposed to beat. And what comes to mind for me down the stretch is when they played that pocket of teams. Someone is the 2025 schedule still up? They played that pocket of teams where it was Minnesota. They played the Twins, the Orioles, and the Rockies. And they lost 2 of 3 to the Twins, and they just didn't even look good in the series against the Twins. Those are the games that I kind of felt but didn't want it to become a reality. But those are the games that they lost that were totally major factors in the reason that they are exiting the playoffs early. And that's because they should have beat those teams. They should have taken care of business. They should have at least taken 2 of 3 from the Twins. The Orioles, the Orioles are a better team than I think their record showed, but still you can't get swept at home in late September or early September. It was the first week of September. You can't get swept at home in September by the Orioles. You got to at least take 2 games. Got to. And so when I was thinking about the season last night and this morning, I just kept coming back to the fact that instead of going to Chicago, and again, I know this is in a vacuum. I know that things could change, but in a vacuum, instead of going to Chicago to play the Cubs at Wrigley, you may have been at home playing the Reds because the Dodgers won the division. And if the Padres were to win the division, they would have had that best record. So they would have been where the Dodgers are. And the Padres could have had 3 home games against the Reds. And although the Reds, the Padres and the Reds play the Padres well all the time, it would have been a much easier go being at home because we know how good they are at home. And just some of the numbers that come out of this series, I mean, they are just numbers that are a part of nightmares, really. If you were to say before the series, hey, if they lose in 3 games, how many runs are they going to score? And you said 2 or 3, I would be like, you're crazy. But that's exactly what they scored. And, I have been seeing a lot of reaction from Padres fans out there. And I know that there's a lot of hurt talking out there. But to the people who are gloating about their negative takes being right, go for it. Because you were right. This team didn't have it. And I think we felt all year there was something off about this team. And I don't know if it was, I don't know that there was something off or what was off. I'm sorry. I don't know what was off. The team vibes seemed to be there, but for whatever reason, that whole lineup could never get going as a whole. And that was a big problem. When you have Manny hitting, no one else is hitting. When Manny's not hitting, other guys are hitting, but they're not hitting enough. So I think you have to put it in the countdown. I said my number one reason the Padres season is over is because the superstars didn't superstar when it mattered. And if you listen to the Skraby Show, you have heard me say superstars got a superstar. And they did not. They did not. I'm going to get here's some numbers from the series. Fernando Tatis Jr., who is by all accounts a great postseason hitter. He went 1 for 12 with a walk in the 3 games. And That is not going to get it done. And I think that's something that everybody understands. Fernando going 1 for 12. If it was just Fernando going 1 for 12, you might have a chance. But when it's Fernando going 1 for 12, and then it's outside of game 2, Luis Arraez was 2 for 3 in game 2. He was 0 for 4 in the other 2 games in the second spot. Manny Machado, he did have that huge hit in game 2 that won the game for the Padres, but he went 0 for 9 for the rest of the series. And I really don't know what happened here with some of the superstars, because they kind of disappeared. They didn't kind of disappear. They did disappear. The first 3 batters were 4 for 33 in the series. 4 for 33. And that is a recipe for a series loss. So I'm not surprised whatsoever that the Padres season is over by looking at these numbers. I mean, it really did come down to the top of the 9th inning. And we've already talked about DJ Rayburn and the umpire's strike call that was actually a ball. And that's unfortunate. Can't put it on the umpires, though. They could have hit with runners in scoring position the entire series. The entire series. So that one pitch did not end their season. Certainly helped in their season. But I can't even be mad, really, at that. I understand that it was a terrible call in a big moment. But I can't be mad because you should never be leaving it up to other things to win you a series, like umpire calls, win you or lose you series. It's all on them. It's all on them. And Jake Cronenworth faced a lot of lefty pitching in the series, yes, but he went 0 for 11. The guys just did not hit. The guys just did not hit. The pitching was there. Outside Yu Darvish, I know that Chris said he, had some soft contact and didn't really see a lot of hitters, but damage was done. Those 2 runs early in the game for the Cubs were all it took. And as the game went along, I think we all kind of felt the same way. Like, we have seen this story before. We have seen this team do this before, and we all kind of knew the outcome. I personally was hoping that they would win, but I was hoping in the wrong spot. My hope was in the wrong place because it just wasn't going to happen. But back to the people that were, saying that this team stinks, this team can't hit. I've been saying this since May. That's fine. I personally am always going to be positive about things. And I'm going to be positive about the Padres if they're looking to compete each and every year, which they are right now. I mean, if you want to rub it in that you were right because you thought the team was terrible in May, fine. Go for it. It's just not my style to think that way. I'm not going to think about why things are going to go wrong. I was so positive last night. I kept banking on the fact that last year's playoffs, the Mets were down to their last 2 outs in a wild card series against the Brewers, and they won the game. Out of nowhere. Pete Alonso hits that opposite field shot in the 9th inning, and I was still holding on to that. So if that tells you anything about me, it tells you that I am trying so hard to hold on to positive things, because I feel like if I send out positive things into the universe, then positive things are going to happen. But it didn't. It did not happen that way. And Padres 2025 season is over. Maxwell says, can't rely on miracles. You're right. You can't rely on miracles. You can't. In the back of my head, I know that. But at the same time, I guess you can call it my coping skills. I'm going to cope while the game is going on. But once that Fermin ball was caught, I just let out a sigh and I walked out of the room. Legend Girlie says, Hope was seeing that Merrill homer. Yeah, it was. And then seeing 2 guys get on base and all of the above what happened in the top of the 9th. That was hope. It was. but they didn't put it together. So those are my quick initial thoughts. I'm glad that I had at least 24 hours to think about it, because last night I was much more angry at everything. I was ready to dismantle the team. I was ready to call for people's heads. But in the end, this was a good team that did not complete their goal, and they fell a lot short. None of those guys in that clubhouse feel good about exiting after the wild card round. All right. My first initial thoughts. We're going to go through a lot today, actually, or at least try to, because we just went through the contract situation on Gwynn and Chris. I'm going to say something about Luis Ariz, because I know that a lot of people are not big Luis Ariz fans for him on this team, but there's also some things to look forward to. And I'm not trying to skate away from the terrible end to this season, but I want people to know how they're set up for the future, because I've had some Padre fans message me and tell me, AJ sold the farm. They got nothing left. What are they going to do? We'll talk about that when we get back on the Skraby Show on 97.3 The Fan.
Partly cloudy and breezy tonight.
I was just thinking about my future schedule here now that the Skraby Show is in season, which, if you don't know, the Skraby Show is in season when the Padres are not in season. So you'll be getting a lot of me from 6 to 7 p.m. throughout the next couple months. Honestly, I remember it feels kind of long ago, but it also doesn't feel that long ago that we were just talking about who's going to play left field for the Padres in 2025. I mean, that was a huge topic of conversation. We were talking about where are they going to find some of this power? What are they going to do about pitching? Everything seemed to come together. Everything seemed to make sense. I thought AJ Preller, I know there's people who don't like AJ out there, but I'm going to echo what Chris and Tony said and some of the other people in the chat said. I'm going to echo that, hey, be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you wish for with AJ Preller, because there are rumors out there that he could be on the move. I don't want to believe it. I have no idea if it's true or not. But it would be very hard for me to believe that the team would want to get rid of him. I don't know that that would be in the team's best interest. You have a guy who is good and creative and brings players in and restocks the farm system. Johnny says, don't forget they fell short, quote unquote, again. That is true. They have fallen short again. But I would like to ask in chat, please let me know, what would have... I can't say that winning a World Series was the only option for this team, because, again, it's very tough to win a World Series. There are lots of teams that don't win a World Series, but where would they have had to go in the playoffs for you to consider this season a success? Sorry, I got distracted for a second, but you can't. I don't think you can get rid of AJ Preller. I think that would be a huge. I think that would be a huge mistake. I really do. We have no idea what the payroll situation is going to be like. I don't think you can, and I'm seeing a lot of this too. I don't think you could fire Mike Schilt after back-to-back winning seasons and back-to-back seasons in the playoffs. Like him or not, Mike Schilt has won while he's been here as the manager. There are certainly things that have popped up over the years, but in the end, who's out there that's better? Skip Schumacher, he's off the board. He's going to be the Rangers manager. I don't think that firing people now the other coaches, the hitting coaches, you can't fire Ruben Yablo. He's the pitching whisperer. Pitching was pretty good for the most part this year. Starting pitching was not, but that was because of injuries and other things. But for the most part, I don't think you could fire AJ. Don't think you can fire Mike Schilt after heading to the playoffs. Juan says, I'll take Schilt over Bomel and Jace Tingler every day. Rod said Schilt needs to stay. Dominic says, AJ's job is to do everything possible to put a good team together that should win. The players have to do the work. If you think AJ didn't do his job to the nth degree, not sure what you're watching. I can 100% get behind that. Some people are saying the NLCS would have been an above, would have been a successful season for the Padres. Clinton says, although AJ does seem like a good commodity for other teams, I really hope he stays. He knows our franchise too well. That's true. I mean, he does know the Padres inside and out. Let's see, more NLCS. So NLCS I can get behind. And Darren says he is not the leader of that team. Who are we talking about, Darren? SD Mike says, I think the season was a success to an extent, as you just said, back-to-back winning seasons, back-to-back playoffs. Can't say that was a failure. Very disappointing to be sure. I guess I mean, I think maybe it's because it's too fresh. I'm trying to think about how to say this, because I do think that there was success in this season, and I do think that there was, disappointment and failure. And I hate the word failure. Disappointment. Disappointment was what happens when you lose to the Cubs in the wild card round after your star players don't hit. And I'll give everyone this. We saw something similar at the end of last year. Padres were rolling in that series against the Dodgers. Dodgers said that was the team that should win the World Series, but everything completely changed. And I don't know what you can change to make that change, but there is now evidence in back-to-back seasons that the hitting can just go away at any moment. I mean, Manny was not good, and he said as much. There were a lot of guys who were saying that they weren't good in this series. And I guess it's nice for them to say that. It doesn't help any of us. But here's what I want to say about Luis Arraez, because I don't think that he's going to be back with the team next year. And the only reason I don't think he is going to be back with the team next year is because of the price tag. He was making $14 million this year. He's a free agent. I don't know that he's willing to accept a massive hometown discount and stay a Padre. I know that he loves the Padres, but I don't think he's going to be back with the team next year. And I'll say this about him, because watching him for the past almost 2 seasons, I know he came over, I think, in May of last season. The dude cares a lot. And he did not have a batting champion type of year. Do I think that he was misplaced in the lineup as the year went along? When the year started, sure. Let's give the 3-time batting champ the number 2 spot in the lineup. But as the season went along, did I want to see some flexibility? Maybe a little bit of trying something new? Yeah, I did. But do I think that Luis Arraez is someone who makes a team worse? No, I don't. Now, I had to look this up because I wanted to see where he finished around baseball. Luis Arraez tied for the second most hits in all of baseball. That surprised me when I looked up that stat earlier. That did really, really surprise me. He had the 13th best batting average in baseball when it was all said and done, 292. And he led the Padres in batting average. Now, there's plenty of other things that he did not lead the Padres in, but I can't say that Luis Arraez is a guy who makes a team worse. And also, Rod just said this on the chat, and I have it written down in my notes. The guy played with a broken thumb last year in the playoffs. So if anyone is out there being like, he's a garbage human, he's garbage, just remember, these guys, have injuries that we don't know about, but he had a broken thumb and still played through it, still won a batting title. I tend to, when I think about what failed this team, I cannot go in the direction of the front office or the manager. I have to go with the players. And Luis Arraez was 0 for 8 in game 1 and game 3. He was 2 for 3 in game 2. There's a complete correlation there. Game 1 and game 3, Fernando, Arraez, and Manny didn't hit. In game 2, they did, and they won that game. So it's not just the first 3 guys in the lineup, but when your superstars don't superstars, or when your superstars don't superstar, it's going to be hard to win these playoff series. It's going to be really difficult to win playoff series. I do think, Luis Arraez, to close it up on him, he has purpose, and I do think that he can make a team successful, but I don't know in what application that is for the Padres. I mean, we tried it. I give the guy credit. He played first base this year. He worked really hard at it. I think he did a pretty decent job at first base, but I do know there were times when him playing first base maybe allowed a runner to get on because he had to jump and other first basemen are taller than him. These are the small things that at first base that can add up over the season. And I think he did a pretty good job defensively. I just don't know where he fits with this team if he is not a batting champ. That's where, to me, his real successful value lies, is if he's hitting over 300 and he's hitting with runners in scoring position and he's getting on base and he's doing he has multi-hit games left and right. That's where it is. But this year, for whatever reason, he could never really get it going. He did there at the end of the year. I mean, 292 is still the best batting average on the Padres. And he had the second most hits in baseball. But I don't think it's with the Padres. All right, I went through everything. I blew through this entire segment talking about things I didn't realize I was going to talk about for so long. But when we get back, I'm going to take you through the future of this team and let you know what AJ Preller has done to put them in a position to, pretty much for the most part, come back with a similar team next year. So stick around. I'm Matt Skraby. This is the Skraby Show, 97.3 The Fan.
Quinn and
I guess one good thing that has happened in the last couple days is that it's now October, which means that Halloween is right around the corner. If you've listened to this show for any amount of time, I'm Matt Skraby. This is the Skraby Show, 97.3 The Fan. If you listen to this show for any amount of time, you know I love my horror movies. And the reason I say horror is because sometimes I say the word too close together and it comes out to be another word. So that's why I like horror movies. But I always struggle with costumes for Halloween. I really do. It's been since I was a kid. One of the hardest things for me to do is pick a costume for Halloween. And I think I have one for this year. And I don't mind telling everyone. But you've probably seen me wear the shirt before. But I really love Art the Clown. And I know that there's going to be from Terrifier. I know there's going to be a ton of Art the Clowns out there. But he might be my favorite character in scary movie history. If you've never seen Terrifier and you're a fan of scary, gory movies, watch Terrifier. It's over-the-top gore. Art the Clown is more of like a mime, but he's evil. So I kind of like that as well. But if you are looking for some scary movies, watch the Terrifier movies. Let's see. Dominic, I see what you did there. Let's see. Juan says, Skraby, have you seen House, the Japanese horror movie? No, I have not. I'll look into that. I like watching those. SD Mike says, oh dang, time to fire up Shudder. I did have Shudder. I cut the payment on Shudder about 6 months ago. I mean, I was watching Shudder more than anything, which Shudder is like a scary movie Netflix type thing, SHUDDER. But I think I'm going to be Art the Clown. Dominic says, aren't all mimes evil? I don't know if they're all evil, but Art the Clown is certainly funny in his role as a clown mime. Clinton, The Menu was a good one. The Menu I've watched many times. I like The Menu. I think it's Ray Fiennes and Anya Taylor-Joy. It's a weird one. It is a complete weird one. But I will bring you those types of, or I'll tell you when I watch those movies so that I can see how other people feel about them. But I'm going to have to put together like a horror movie list here soon. We're going to get to the Padres players in just a second, but I had something I would like to talk about, but as Chris said, the last couple days, you're going to get to the point one day where you can't. Oh, I remember. It's the off season, and I promise this for everyone, but I can't remember who, but you're on the chat sometimes. I was talking about Rubik's Cubes and how I don't understand how anyone solves a Rubik's Cube. And then someone put on the chat, you should solve a Rubik's Cube on YouTube Live. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to solve a Rubik's Cube. I'm going to give myself like a time limit of 45 minutes or so. But I'm going to do that. And I was asked by Diesel. And he said, because I used to work on a different radio station back in the day as an intern for a morning show. And I have a bunch of old audio from my early radio days that I have been going through. And I'm going to do a little YouTube Live and share some of that old audio. It is, I will say, some of this audio is drunk Skraby, which, if you don't know, I haven't drank in nearly 9 years. So this is a side of Skraby you've never heard before. And I'm going to do that at some point. Juan says it's math about the Rubik's Cube. I know. I'm the worst math person on earth. So that's why I don't understand the Rubik's Cube. I don't understand math. Susan says The Exorcist is by far the best horror movie. I mean, I do love The Exorcist. Let me tell you. I do love The Exorcist. Aztec Gator, let's get back to the Padres because I have limited time remaining and I will get to the players that are set up for the future. What Aztec Gator says would also like to see what changes Schilt makes to get better. He seems adverse to changing anything, no matter what evidence says. Unflinching belief in his team didn't work out enough. I don't know. I don't know that he has an what does it say? I don't know that. I've never seen Mike Schilt work. I've never been in any of those meetings. So maybe it's a team philosophy. Maybe it's a philosophy that all of them come up with together. So I can't say specifically that he is adverse to changing things and making changes, but I do think that managers are. I think that they should be lumped in with players in the regards of they need to get better. Everybody has to get better at their job, and I think that Mike Schilt will probably reflect on this year and take things that happened this year and change them for next year. I would hope so. I don't think that he is a guy who is going to, just run it back next year. I don't think that anyone could just run it back next year. But he's going to be the manager of this team next year. And now that I say that, I could be wrong. I'm going to knock on wood, I guess. But I can't see any reason why he's not the manager of the Padres next year. But I do think there needs to be some changes made in maybe the managerial philosophy a little bit. I've said it all year. Maybe we needed to have more of a gut feel type of, some of those decisions may have been better as a gut feel rather than an analytic feel. But again, they made the playoffs in back-to-back seasons. They won over 90 games or 90 or more in back-to-back seasons. That's a pretty good managerial job. I'm not saying that it's completely free of blame or completely free of mistakes or completely free of decisions being made that no one agreed with, but the proof is in wins. And he's done enough to get the Padres into back-to-back playoffs. I do think, though, that it needs to take a step up from here. And I talked about this last year with the Lions. After the Lions got eliminated from the NFL playoffs by the Commanders, I talked about it with them because they have been so close so many times, and we've seen it with teams. They need to lose sometimes to make it to the big game and to win the big game. But this year, without making it past the wild card round, I cannot say that this was a step forward for the team this year. I can't say it. Can't say it. All right, let's go into how AJ Preller has actually turned players that he traded for into players that are going to be a part of this team for the future. We've talked about Freddie Fermin. Freddie Fermin is going to be the starting catcher next year. He's going to be the everyday guy. He has a good arm, one of the best pop times in baseball. I think he showed that he can hit a little bit. Maybe he can get better with the bat, but he's set up for the next 3 seasons. He just completed his first year of arbitration, so he's got 3 more years of arbitration. He's under control. JP Sears came with the Mason Miller trade. We'll talk about Mason Miller in just a second. JP Sears, I have no idea what his role is going to be in the future, but he is under control for 2 more years. Gavin Sheets came in. No one really knew what was going to happen with Gavin Sheets. He became a very pleasant surprise to everyone. I would hope that he can improve on this year for next year. He is under team control for the next 2 seasons. Adrian Morejon, he's under control for 1 more season. And here are all the guys that are that aren't even to the arbitration process. They are in pre-arb. Jeremiah Estrada, Randy Vasquez, David Morgan, Bradley Rodriguez. Those guys are all under team control. I expect David Morgan to have a much bigger role out of the bullpen next year. I expect Randy Vasquez to be a part of this rotation next year. I think that he earned that this year to be considered a part of the rotation going into next year. Jeremiah Estrada had some hiccups this year, but for the most part, Jeremiah Estrada is a good bullpen pitcher, good reliever. He strikes out a lot of guys, and he got through that inning yesterday with. It could have been really, really bad, but Jeremiah Estrada limited the damage. So going forward, you're going to have him. Now, some of the guys, or let's go back to Mason Miller real quick, because I got a text from someone this morning. One of the first things that I saw. How do I phrase this? Because there are swear words in it, but basically the question was, all right, they lost and they gave up their best prospect in the meantime for a couple of guys. That is, I'll just say, a failure. This is not what they said, but it was the gist. Mason Miller was just the darling of the wild card series because he was able to do things that no other pitcher has done before. And he's under control through 2029. So Leo DeVries, although all signs point to him being a great major leaguer, he's not going to impact the team for another couple years. Mason Miller already showed why they traded Leo DeVries away for Mason Miller. Mason Miller is under contract through 2029. I have to repeat that. And so with some of the trades that AJ made at the deadline, you have your starting left fielder for next year in Ramon Laureano. You already know. We're not going to do the left field thing next year. We're not going to ask who's going to be in left field. You know Jackson's in center field. You know Toddy's in right field. There you go. Boom. You know Manny's at third. You know Xander's at short. You know that Jake is at second. You know Fermin's at catcher. So that leaves a first baseman, which I think, and what we talked about during Quid of Chris, Ryan O'Hearn would be the perfect guy for that spot. We saw him hit for some power. We saw him play great defense. I would feel really good if the price was right for them. I would feel really good about bringing Ryan O'Hearn back. And Manny already said his name by name. So that means that Manny Machado is thinking about it as well. Dominic, dude, Mason Miller is a Bo Jackson in Tecmo Bowl type cheat code. I don't give a flying bleep about DeVries. I don't give a flying bleep about DeVries either. Although it will be fun to see what he could do. But here are some of the guys that are free agents. Ryan O'Hearn, Jose Iglesias, Dylan Cease. I don't know that he's going to be back. I don't know how I feel about that one yet. I got to think about that a little bit because although he had a pretty lackluster year from what we thought he was going to have, I mean, the guy did start every single game that he was tasked with starting. So the guy is a workhorse, and that is valuable. That is valuable because we saw Michael King go out due to injury, and it put the rotation in peril there for a little bit. But you have Dylan Cease, you have Michael King, mutual option. Looks like maybe he's gonna, talk to his family, his agent, everyone, trying to figure out what he wants to do. Robert Suarez has a player option for $8 million. He's probably going to opt out of that, which makes Mason Miller the closer. Joe Musgrove coming back. Jason Adam also coming back next year under an arbitration contract. Johnny Brito, remember him? He had Tommy John. And Eric Hosmer money off the books. The one thing I will say, the Nick Pivetta raise, although he does deserve the raise, going to $20.5 million is going to be a little difficult, I think, sometimes. For the pod, it's already on the books. So he's going to be back for $20.5 million unless something else happens in the meantime. I just looked at the time. I am running out of time. So here we go with this.
What's annoying Skraby today? Let's find out. It's time for the Daily Gripe.
All right, my daily gripe is simple. Very, very, very simple. My gripe is that the Padres are out of the playoffs. I think that's a simple gripe. I think it's the right gripe. I'm disappointed that the season ended the way it did. I'm disappointed how 2025 was not the season we all thought it was going to be. But we live to fight another day. We live to fight another day. Good gripe. Thank you, Gonzo. Dominic, the only gripe. That is the only gripe. All right, you're going to hear a lot more from me going forward because the season is over. Skraby Shows are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday through the NFL season, and then you'll get me every single day. So we'll be back on Monday. We'll talk more about what happened over the weekend, and we'll talk to all of you right here on 97.3 The Fan. Thanks for listening, everyone.